for people who don't know former Representative Oliver Olson, this is his daughter. Do you want to say anything to?
Her name is Zoe.
Zoe can introduce herself.
Yeah, you want to introduce yourself?
So are you gonna come and testify about social media on your phone?
You are live. Oh, we're live, okay. So yes, back to you, Professor Britt. I don't know, you might want to start the soup analogy over, because it got lost over
Sure. Should I start? The infinite scroll design is based on a well-known psychology experiment. Researchers gave one group a regular bowl of soup, and they gave another group a bottomless bowl of soup. The group that got the bottomless bowl ate 73% more soup and didn't even realize it. They had no stopping cues. By using the infinite scroll, the tech industry took away our stopping signals all over the internet. Second, why are laws like the Vermont Kids Code vital? We all know how much time kids spend on screens, and you're hearing from distinguished experts about the impact. Laws regulating addictive technologies are important if we want to see kids' screen time go down instead of constantly rising. In my book about addictive technologies, I studied the battles of the past against harmful products. The battle against tobacco, against junk food. I looked at the tech industry and the fight to protect privacy. My research shows that there is a repeating cycle. When an industry produces a harmful product and the truth starts leaking out, we enter the science wars. Researchers publish studies showing the product is harmful, and the industry challenges the research and funds its own studies to refute it. The science wars can and often do take years. They end when governmental bodies and medical associations issue proclamations warning of danger. At that point, the industry changes course. Industries typically use two strategies. First, they try to shift the responsibility for the harm to their consumers. Second, they come up with their own solutions to the problem to avoid regulation. For example, when smokers sued the tobacco industry, cigarette companies argued that the smokers chose to smoke and therefore they are responsible for their health problems. The tobacco industry also came up with solutions, like the filtered cigarettes, which it advertised as exactly what the doctor prescribed. So where is the fight to contain addictive technologies in this cycle? I believe that the science wars are beginning to wind down. The tech industry is finding it harder to refute the significant evidence of harms, especially to kids' mental health and cognitive development. We're starting to see important proclamations like the Surgeon General's recent advisory about the harms of social media to kids. The technology industry is now engaging in the two strategies I described. Tech companies are trying to put the responsibility on us, especially on parents, for the time their kids spend online. They do so by giving parents digital well-being tools, like parental controls that don't work. The idea is that if parents have the tools and the kids still spend so much time online, then the parents are to blame. By producing digital well-being tools, the tech industry also tried to show that it is regulating itself and does not need to be regulated. It gave us tools like screen time on our iPhone or notifications of time spent on Instagram that teens easily dismissed. These tools were not effective because they were not meant to be. They did not go to the heart of their addictive features, for example, by eliminating the infinite scroll. Unless forced to, the tech industry will not make any changes that affect the addictive design. It has no incentive to change because this will undermine its whole business model. It will continue to hail the flag of self-regulation. Only legal pressure will create change. And we just heard how much change this legal similar law made in the UK. Now, to be clear, change does not mean that we need to throw out our screens and connectivity and go back to the 20th century. But it does mean redesigning the technologies so they will no longer contain addictive features that keep us, and especially our kids, online for so many hours a day. By enacting the Kids Code, Vermont will join the movement to create change. Adopting a duty of care will require the tech industry to assess whether their products are designed to promote the best interests of their young users. Addictive features that manipulate kids to stay on screens for so many of their waking hours do not, under any count, do so. In the last part of my comments, I want to address the First Amendment challenges. As you know, the technology industry challenged a similar law, the California Age-Appropriate Design Act, on First Amendment grounds. This is not surprising. In recent years, corporations exceedingly use the First Amendment as a legal sword to avoid regulation. But we must remember that the First Amendment was crafted to protect freedom of speech, not abusive designs. Laws that impose on tech companies a duty of care not to harm kids do not regulate speech or content. They are in essence a set of safety regulations, like those regulating the paint on kids' toys. Going back to my example of the infinite scroll, regulating a design feature that does not let you ever go to the end of the page does not burden expressive speech. The tech industry's argument that laws regulating harm to kids violate the First Amendment is out of line with deeply embedded legal traditions. States have always used their police power to protect kids' health and well-being. If states cannot do so, will they no longer be able to prohibit kids from gambling, from buying cigarettes, from vaping? I would like to end on a personal note, taking off my law professor hat for a moment. I'm also the mother of 3 kids who were born into an era of online connectivity, smartphones, and social media. My kids' generation has been in front of the screens for over a decade, plus a pandemic, and they're paying the price for this. We need to act fast. We do not have the extra time to wait. I hope Vermont will join the movement by adopting the Vermont Kids Code. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. Any questions? I think, can you make sure we have the title of your book? Because I
It's
would.
Unwired, I just looked it up.
Oh, okay.
Unwired.
Unwired. Okay.
Gaining control over addictive technologies.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. It sounds like you've been on the forefront of this for a while and part of the science wars, and have started winning. So we really appreciate your work and your testimony here today.
Thank you.
Very helpful. Yeah.
And have you sent your testimony to Magali electronically?
I'm going to send
Yeah.
it later today.
Okay, great,
I
terrific,
think
that would
Camille
be
is
so
on top
helpful.
of,
Thank
Camille
you.
and Magali are on top of that. Thank you so much, Professor.
And
Thank
for
you.
the other 2.
Next we have research scientist Zach Roush from the NYU Stern School of Business. Hello, Mr. Roush.
Hello, good morning, all of you. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come speak. And I am just so humbled to be with these extraordinary speakers. Everybody here has spoken so brilliantly about this issue. So my name's Zach Roush, Associate Research Scientist at New York University, and I work with the social psychologist Jonathan Haidt. And we're also just finishing up a book called The Anxious Generation: How the Great Rewiring of Childhood is Causing an Epidemic of Mental Illness. And our book is specifically on the harms of these platforms on young people. And so I've been studying adolescent mental health for about 4 years now. And I just want to put some numbers to what everybody has spoken about so far. And I am part of these science wars. So I'm just going to share my screen and show 2 slides, which I believe you all should have. Oh, okay. I am unable to share my screen.
You should have co-hosting privileges.
Oh, now I do. Great. Okay. So I just want to show a couple of figures just to paint a picture of what has happened to young people over the last decade. This is data from the National Survey of Drug Use and Health, a national United States survey showing trends in major depressive episodes in the last year among American adolescents ages 12 to 17. And what we can see is that before 2010, trends were generally stable. And then after 2010, there was an elbow in the curve. And there was, since 2010, there has been more than a doubling of major depressive episodes among both boys and girls. And at this point, it's now around 1 in 3 or so girls experiencing a major depressive episode. Now, it's not just depression. We also see this in a variety of other measures. These are emergency department visits for non-fatal self-harm among girls ages 10 to 14, where rates have actually more than tripled for these preteen girls. And rates have also been rising for boys, but those are generally a bit lower. And not only so is it these two trends that I showed here, rates of suicide are also rising. And it's not just happening in the United States, this is happening in many countries across the world. So Gen Z girls who are born after 1995 have higher suicide rates today than any other previous generation of girls that we have on record in the 5 major English-speaking countries. So US, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. There really is a mental health crisis, and this crisis is international. So I'm here to talk today about this crisis and specifically the connection between digital technology use, social media in particular, and the outcomes and the impact on mental health. And very clearly, I just want to make clearly and simply that I'm going to make the case that there is, in fact, a direct link between social media use and poor mental health outcomes among adolescents, and in particular, adolescent girls. And there are a variety of threads to which we can show this chain of causality. So the first thread is looking at the data that I was just showing, that there is an international consistent pattern in a deteriorating mental health. Between the years of 2010 and 2015, it is uniquely adolescents and adolescent girls whose mental health fell off a cliff. And it's specifically the kinds of internalizing disorders such as depression, anxiety, loneliness, poor self-esteem. And related to that is the timing. So between those same years, between 2010 and 2015, childhood really transformed. So in 2009, about 50% of American high schoolers were using social media platforms every day. By 2011, it was now 75%. By 2015, 15% of American girls were spending more than 40 hours a week just on social media platforms alone. And now by 2022, a Pew Research Center study found that 1 in 3 teens report spending being on one of the 5 major social media platforms almost all the time. And about half, 46% of teens say that they're online in some capacity almost all of the time. And for boys, 17% of boys, this is a Common Sense survey, it's a separate survey, found that 17% of them spend 4 hours or more per day playing video games. And so screens are taking up an enormous amount of time for young people. Recent also Common Sense surveys are showing upwards of 8 to 9 hours a day. Now, I can't just point to 2 things happening at the same time, showing that this is causing this collapse in mental health. So we need to look at some of the data. And that's just going to quickly go through a couple major studies here. And I'm just going to share my screen one last time to show this. So here is a study from 2018 from the UK among 16,000 teenagers, looking at the amount of time spent on social media per day and the percent with depression. And what this study found is that for girls who spend more than 5 hours a day on social media, They have 3 times the rate of depression as those who spend none at all. And boys, it's about double. And so that's this study. Now, when there's in 2022, a meta-analysis of over 26 dose response studies, so the same kind of studies where you're looking at time per day and mental health outcomes, found that the risk of depression increased by 13% for every hour increase in social media use among adolescents. And that increased even more when it was among girls. And the general outcome measures in many of these studies are body image, self-worth, finding it's exacerbating loneliness, sadness, depression, anxiety. And we have a variety of longitudinal studies, experimental studies, all showing substantial harm. And it's not only the research, we also find that kids themselves are pointing to social media. So a 2018 Australian survey of over 4,000 12 to 24-year-olds said that the #1 cause of the decline of their mental health within their generation is social media. And even the companies themselves have found this in their own internal research, which was released in the Facebook files. One line that was quite striking in their own report said, "We make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls." So when we tie all of these threads together, the international pattern, the timing of when kids move their lives on these platforms, what the research says, what the kids say, what the internal research says, it paints a very stark picture showing that there is in fact a direct link between social media use and poor mental health outcomes among adolescents. Now, I want to just make 2 more points before finishing up. Why is it so specifically that these platforms harm adolescents? And what is really key to remember is just that an adolescent brain is very different than the brain of adults. It's going through rapid changes, and young developing brains don't have the same kind of executive functioning that you have when you're older. And so young adolescents are more impulsive, they have less impulse control, they're extremely sensitive to social rewards. There is almost nothing more important than feeling like you belong to a social group during this time. And there's a lot of insecurity. And these companies understand these aspects of young brain development and advantage of it through the kinds of features on their platforms. And this brings me to the broader point, is that what's almost, although content on these platforms is important, what's really driving many of these harms is the design features. The design features which is not designed for the well-being of the users, but to take advantage of them in order to get them to spend more time on their platform so that they can then sell their attention to advertisers. And this is what's leading to 8 to 9 hours spent on screens per day. And it's led not only to the harms that I discussed before, but the displacement of almost all aspects of what we understood, what we understand and hoped childhood to be. The loss of sleep, the loss of times with friends and family in person, the loss of time spent outdoors playing, all of that has been pushed away. And just specifically, it is just like the other speakers today have been talking about, the algorithmic feeds, the constant push notifications, infinite scroll, autoplay, all of these kind of features. And so even if Instagram, for example, could remove almost all of its harmful content and leave only photos of happy girls and young women, for example, enjoying their beautiful lives, the effect on adolescents would still be devastating, from the constant social comparison, the loss of sleep, the addiction, the perfectionism, and just the amount of time being displaced in their lives. So in conclusion, the evidence is clear, and I hope it is clear that there is a link between these platforms and their designs and poor mental health outcomes among adolescents. And I advocate and support for this Vermont Kids Code, and I think it's a very important step forward, and I hope that this gets passed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roush. Do any of our young people want to ask a question or say anything?
I don't have
Jennifer?
a question, but I'll just comment on that, in that I think that all is very true. and just like I just wrote down personal notes and just was saying how like, yeah, like social media, like for me, it's just like constant comparison.
Yeah.
You know, you're scrolling through TikTok and you're just seeing video after video of this girl doing that, this girl doing that. Oh, I want her hair. I want her nails. I wish I was skinny like her. I wish I looked like her. I wish I could go and do this, you know? And I use Instagram as my motivation to go to the gym. Like when I don't feel like going to the gym, I go on Instagram, I look at a couple of like girls that I know and I'm like, shoot, like I need to go do something. Like
Yeah.
like I'm not like I don't look like that. You know
It's
what I
kind of
mean?
an anxious
Yeah.
tool to
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just like it's just the comparison of yourself to others and not having a chance to get away from it, you know, because
Yeah.
like you go to school, you're comparing yourself to others, maybe whatever, but then you come home and you're alone and you're chill, but you're
Right.
not.
right.
You're still comparing.
And you're
yourself
looking
to-
at manufactured images. that are-
exactly that aren't even real,
Yeah.
and you don't
Yeah.
have the context behind anything, so it's just stories being like just
Yeah.
snowballing in your head.
Right. Well, I think you're bringing up a valuable point that maybe, I don't know if you're doing any research in the UK, but you know, laws force us to talk about these things and to talk about it as addiction and something that you're not able to control by yourself as a young person or as anybody, you know, that it's healthy even just to be having the conversation about how these tools work. That's been successful in the tobacco industry, you know, showing that companies will keep looking for ways to promote addiction. Mr. Rausch, are you seeing any trends toward health again in the UK? Is there kind of a new silver lining here?
Yeah, well, give us some hope. What's a healthy balance? What's a healthy amount of time for kids to be online? What do you see school? I mean, you know, there's this whole move to have phones checked at the door of classrooms or schools. Do you see that making an impact? What do you see making an impact? Is I think what we are hoping you might actually shed some light on.
So what I think is a really important point to what we believe is going to make the biggest changes is that parents and teens are facing a collective action problem where it's going to be really hard for any individual kid or parent to decide to, you know, spend less time on Instagram, to cut it out, maybe entirely, to wait, to delay, to give smartphones, because if everyone else has it, you're going to feel more and more isolated. And that's why the phone-free schools possibility seems extremely promising, where we can give back 7-8 hours of childhood back to kids. And the reason for that is if you hand in your phone at the beginning of the school day, get it back at the end, what it does is it helps reduce all of that social pressure and allow kids to spend that time together without these devices mediating all aspects of life. And so that is really the place for hope, is if we can get institutions to work together, families to come together and decide as a group, we're going to delay smartphones together or delay social media, or passing bills like this will help create the incentives and dynamics that will make it much less toxic to be on these platforms.
We might encourage Senate Education
Yes.
to have you in as a witness and give them your contact information. They are discussing a phone-free schools bill while we discuss this in here. So it's a really important reminder that it's, you know, if everybody's there, you're just powerless to not show up. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rausch.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Enjoy New York today.
Thanks.
Okay, so next we have some local folks, and I will say before I introduce Mr. Vijay Desai that someone recently on the Senate floor asked who was a page and what are they doing
All
now?
right.
Vijay was not a page. His son Neil was a page,
Oh,
and Neil helped found Technology for Tomorrow with his dad. And I just was at an event put on by Technology for Tomorrow that included Microsoft because they gave them a Spark brand and it included people all over the state who are teaching digital literacy and technological literacy. And they use technology for tomorrow's classes as a real foundational piece of that. So I'll let Mr. Vijay Desai say more about the organization. And he knows that I was really touched to meet his staff person, Malachi, who's a local Vermonter who now helps seniors learn AI and, tries to build in the literacy so that people can use technology for its best uses and its intended purposes.
Kesha, thank you very much for the introduction. Good morning to everybody. Again, my name is Vijay Desai. I'm one of the co-founder of Technology for Tomorrow with my son, who was the page, as Kesha mentioned. We exist since last 12 years now in the state of Vermont. We are 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are teaching technology to underserved population across the state, focusing mainly on three population. Number one, older adults. Number two, new Americans, mainly with refugee background. And number three, underemployed or unemployed people in Vermont. So we are running series of technology classes. We partnered with many nonprofit organizations across the state. And we have great support from big corporations like Microsoft and Comcast who like to support our activities. And recently we started also working with Vermont Community Broadband Board to help them out to develop and deliver the Digital Navigator program.
Great.
Malachi, you want to
We're-
introduce yourself? Malachi, you want to introduce
Oh
yourself?
yeah, okay, so you're bringing Malachi in now. Okay, great.
Hello, everyone. My name is Malachi LaForce with Technology for Tomorrow. I was born and raised in Burlington, Vermont. I've been here my entire life. I studied at Champlain College, also in Burlington, Vermont, so I've been here a very long time. I've been very into the technology and internet field. Growing up, we were the first generation that really had technology in our childhood. I learned Google Docs and other online applications from a very early age. In addition, I also am very intertwined into the technology field with teaching Technology for Tomorrow, and in my spare time, I also help to build video games and other products. Yeah, pleasure to meet you.
Malachi, do you mind me saying, you have such an interesting family story that has given you a lot of patience for teaching others.
Yes. So my family, I have 9 younger siblings. I also have 20 younger cousins, and I've always helped to assist them. I am the top of the order, top of the chain, with only one of my cousins being right above me. But as part of my siblings, the 9 of them, I am the top. And I've always helped to assist them, cook for them, and I like to say that I've had to, a lot of the time, help my parents because at the time they were teenagers as well. And so I helped to take care of that burden off of them at the time. And now we are here. And yeah, I've also taught my grandparents technology along the way because they took care of me from a very early age. And I also take some time to volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club, though that hasn't been in a little bit due to COVID.
Well, let's hope you're still cooking. Happily not.
So I was struck that you are starting to teach AI classes. Something that we probably need to learn something about here. What does that look like for you, and how are you trying to help older adults and all Vermonters navigate new technologies?
So with the AI courses, we are teaching individuals currently at the South Burlington Public Library. The 2 courses we offer are the first one in the early afternoon is focused on digital literacy skills. We teach them the applications that like an introduction to computers, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Suite, and a lot of other things that are intertwined into our daily lives now. We also talk about smartphones. And in the later afternoon class, we talk more on AI. And we're talking about more of the general concept and understanding it, because fully understanding what artificial intelligence is from a programmer perspective, that's out of the question. We're trying to just get the discussion rolling and really understanding how it works. So we go through the steps of talking about where AI is currently, and we always talk about recent developments. One of the biggest ones is OpenAI Sora, that has been revolutionizing video and cinematography and other things like that.
Can you tell us more about these things? You know, just some of where AI shows up that we might not even know. You know,
How it relates to kids code.
yeah,
I think that would be helpful to have us understand as we're looking at how AI can be used to design to make this even more insidious than it already is.
So yeah, you may know the bill we're taking up is about setting design and settings toward privacy and safety for young people. And I'm sure you run into all the time just trying to make sure people don't end up in any pitfalls with, you know, these quickly accelerating technologies.
Yeah. So with AI, currently, if we're referring to how children can access AI, the main ones that I can think of are going to be, firstly, ChatGPT, which is an open, similar to Google. It is a search engine. However, it uses a process called natural language processing, where the AI can actually understand conversational wording, so you can actually talk to it and get responses back. And it will search the internet, scour the internet for any answers you may have to questions. It is also being made by OpenAI, which is a company. I don't know where they're based out of off the top of my head, but
Yeah, they're in
OpenAI.
Seattle. They are in
Seattle.
Seattle. Yep.
Thank you, BJ. ChatGPT is really wonderful, but it also, when it comes to kids, I know that a lot of younger individuals use it sometimes for plagiarizing, to be a little honest with you. They'll use it to, a teacher will give you this assignment and they can put that into ChatGPT and get the assignment back by an AI done, if it's a written assignment. That's one interaction that they may have with AI. There's also AI in social media, oftentimes, and in advertising.
Yeah, and that's, I think, us right now with this bill, we need to appreciate how that can be used to promote addictive behaviors and addictive usage.
The way that from currently with AI, how it's being used to promote those types of things would be for on social media, depending on the interests of the individual, the AI often will track data depending on the individual's input, and that would depend on the social media and the company that's taking that and using that information. So we're looking at Instagram, Meta, X, formerly known as Twitter, and other social media platforms like that utilize AI often to get the ads that that individual is interested in. So with that said, there would be potential for AI to rule out any products that are above a threshold. So for addictive substances, ones that we may limit in our society above the age of 21, we could limit depending on the age, but that would mean they would have to track the age of the individual.
Yeah, Senator Clarkson, sure.
No, I think that's helpful. I mean, we're trying to figure out how to limit some of that for our young people, not for necessarily for people above 21, although sad. because patterns, as we know, are established early in life, and we would hope that we would.
How are you teaching people to use AI for good,
Yeah.
for their own, to meet their own needs?
So the classes that we offer that teach them about AI majorly revolve around ChatGPT and Bing Chat and smart home assistants such as Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant, and how they all operate. Now, the way that we teach them how to use those items, we teach them the tool first, and then we talk about the ethics and the morals around it and the future potentially around that specific subject. When it comes to things like Bing Chat, which can be put onto, well, it is now ingrained into Microsoft Edge, which is a web browser. And you can easily use that to curate synopses of research. So it really does help with the research mainly. And it also acts similar to ChatGPT. And we talk about how to majorly increase their work time and workflow and really focus on their personal pipelines to enhance their own work ethic.
And just to add what Malaka is saying, I think I want to make sure everybody recognize AI was in play since last few years. Many people had no idea that we are dealing with AI. And I can give you a few examples. Like if you Google some product, let's say shoes, like tennis shoes as an example. And then if you go to Facebook, you will suddenly start seeing the advertisement of various tennis shoes. Sometimes we chat online when we are on the travel site, or we are on a company from where we bought the product. That chatting, nobody person is doing. It is AI who is chatting with you. So my point is, since last several months, AI was already in place. In last few months, many more features got added, and AI comes out in a light. So I don't want anybody to perceive that AI just born 2 months before or 6 months before. It was there. And now suddenly everybody started recognizing the value. So all are investing their resources and money to align with their product and the AI knowledge base. So OpenAI, which is the starting point nonprofit organization who is creating all this knowledge base, people are trying to connect their product with their database so that you don't need to go to OpenAI, you need to work with that company. As an example, Microsoft. So Microsoft Copilot is the AI engine, but behind that AI engine, it is OpenAI database is working for us. But Microsoft is ahead in the game to create the Copilot interface with users like us, so that we don't need to go to OpenAI, but we can use a Copilot to get all the AI help, as Malakai was mentioning about asking question, composing email. Even if you want to have the review of some big article, 50-page, it can give you in second, literally summary of that 50-page document.
So when, this conversation is all about the ethics of these technologies and what they are monetizing, like where they are profiting, from the use of data, where we are going, our geolocation, our, what we search for, et cetera. Do you try and help your clients, better understand the ethical perspective and how to, sort of be informed users of these platforms?
Yes, so Kesha, answer to that question. Unfortunately, nothing has been firmed up, finalized, or communicated about ethical responsibilities across AI. I think everybody is learning together that what measures we should put in place so that we will be ethical and safe using this AI knowledge, what we are getting, right? So all companies are making the interface with this OpenAI source to cater the services for their customer. But they all are still learning that how to create a package so that they can talk about more ethics about using their data and not putting companies' data out into the global database.
Mhm. Thank you. Anything else you or Malachi want to add about your work and where you think Vermonters are in this conversation? I mean, we're creating this for kids and our young people, but we've been talking to organizations that are feeling like they need to issue more guidance or help people understand how to use these tools for good and keep themselves safe. Where do you think the Vermonters you work with are on that spectrum?
Currently, I would say that the Vermonters that we work with are more often than not more uneducated in the topic of AI, which is why they are seeking us out to learn more. The current students that we see in our AI course specifically, which is a 10-class series, are all individuals who work with nonprofits and are very interested in to use AI to benefit their nonprofit. Individuals that have signed up include representatives from AARP Vermont, CVOEO, the Champlain Valley of Office of Economic Opportunity, Cathedral Square, and many more. Now they've come to this to learn about AI, and not only for their personal reasons, but again to benefit their nonprofit. So I think that Vermont right now, with the lack of a technological hub of many other states have, we're a little under the behind the curve, if you will.
And just to add to that, Malachi's comment, Kesha, as I got another management consulting background, I do work with many for-profit companies such as Global Foundry, Beta, National Life, etc. People have already started using AI in the industry, including hospital. So what I will say is, I think it's not a question about whether we have choice. I think people, it's like internet, like 25 years back, people were having doubt that this internet is real thing or not. And here we are after 25 years, that everybody's life depends on internet, right? Same way, everybody starting using AI, all are learning. For-profit companies know more because they have got dedicated IT resource to use the AI in their benefit. Definitely non-profit world and individuals are still not knowledgeable. But I think AI is going to be new internet and new
Right.
Google search. So I think whatever you all can do at the legislative end will be tremendously helpful for everybody. And we are always open and available if we can add any value in that work.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. I mean, our kids code is regulating services, features, products. So that includes AI, and it's something that is accelerating the other sort of services, products, and features of the past. So we haven't had enough of a conversation about AI. So this was a really good start with an organization on the ground, trying to help people understand AI's value and, make sure people are using it safely. But yeah, we'll be, that's a conversation that will continue. And I just really value what you all do because these are tools, right? Even if it's social media, it connects people, it breaks isolation if used well, and if people feel informed and healthy in their experience. So thanks so much for what you're doing.
We know few AI implementation consultants, Kesha. So down the road, whenever time is right, if you think that you need some real ground level AI implementer you want to talk to, let me know, because they know definitely the space very well. And then their audience is more for-profit companies. So they have to go deep to learn and teach. Malachi and I are more associated with nonprofit and individuals, so we are still scratching the surface, if you will.
Right. We appreciate that you're scratching the surface for many of us who are learning as well. So thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for what Technology for Tomorrow does.
Yeah, and more to follow, I think.
Yeah. Do we have Matthew Bergman or Jason Van?
Jason has not yet come onto the Zoom, and I believe that Matthew will not be joining us.
Okay.
So looks like we are done for now, correct, Keisha?
Oh yeah, sorry. I was saying if our next witness was here, but thanks so much for your time. You can.
Thank you.
I was gonna say stay on or go, but I think that's the end of our witness list. I just want to talk to the committee a little bit about what next week will look
Sure.
like.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for
Bye-bye.
your work.
And we should add that your classes, while having a physical location, you do a lot of online classes
Correct.
that have around the state.
And that AI class series also has a virtual option too. So if anybody wants to join virtually, still there are half of the classes are still remaining to go. If anybody wants to join, please let us know. It is at no cost.
Wonderful. Yeah.
You need one
Right,
for,
there's no
to
cost.
add, new Americans, older people, and legislators.
That's what I said when I went to their event, just come do one in the state house.
Absolutely. We'll be more than happy to come and do whatever you want us to do to share the knowledge.
I think that might be in our future.
Thank you. Thanks
Thank
again.
Bye-bye.
All right.
So
Have
the
a good
committee
one.
that wasn't. Oh, go ahead, Malachi.
I was just going to state that if, while reviewing this bill, you may want to find OpenAI Sora, and there is a video on it, and I think that it is a little showing of where AI is, and it will really help your perspective as to where we are currently. That's all I
Okay,
wanted
can
to
you
state.
email that video to Magali, who
Yes, I
reached
can do
out? Just thank you. Thanks so much. So Magali's, thank you. Magali's let me know that Jason Van Driesch from Front Porch Forum does plan to get on soon. So I hope it's soon. I think
Maybe we could have a break.
yeah, let's have a break, is what I'm gonna say. But I do want us to come back, not only to hear Jason, but just to sort of talk about free crossover scheduling and things. So
One thing you may be interested in is
Mhm.
today's New York Times has an article on the subject that we're talking about. In
Oh.
particular, they're
Oh.
talking about
great.
teenage girls being recruited as influencers.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that last night.
Yeah, it may have been
New
last
York
night.
Times.
It
Yeah.
appears in today's
Uh-huh.
online time, but it's interesting as partially relevant to something.
Very, very much so.
Will
I
you,
saw that last
will you
night.
send it to Magali, and actually would you print that out? Cause that's, I need print to read. That
Yeah,
part.
I'll- yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
I agree. That's what we're missing. The New York
Yes.
Times.
So
Okay,
we'll
let's take
come
a
back at
break.
11:20. So we'll take a 10-minute break.